Thank you very much for coming to the part of the permanent Zimbabwe Revolution Zanu PF headquarters. This is our first press conference of this year, and we cherish very much your interface role to the Zimbabwean public, but also to the international public, as you carry the message across about the many achievements of the Zimbabwean people as they grapple with the task of national development. The President of the Republic, Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, he is still on leave. He had taken a well-deserved rest during the holidays. He's a grinder. Everybody saw him throughout the whole year last year, opening and cutting ribbons all over the show, going to international conferences, attending regional summits with his neighbors, and along the way putting the image of Zimbabwe into good stead. He will soon be back at work. He's raring to go. He has got a script which has since proven itself in terms of where Zimbabwe is going in terms of its national development agenda and the palpable goals which he has been able to deliver as the Second Republic with his mantra, Zimbabwe is open for business, his dictum, nyika inovakwa nevene vayo, ndisu vene vayo, and his clarion call to Zimbabweans that no one and no place will be left behind. So he is living to that good state. We expect a rested and rejuvenated in terms of energy, a re-energized, not rejuvenated, he can't change his years, a re-energized president to come and put his shoulder to the wheel with his team. But in the meantime, showing the unity which is in our party, the acting president has been busy discharging the role of custodian of the governance of Zimbabwe during that period of his leader's rest. We recently had, of course, the opportunity to attend the colorful wedding of our acting president, our vice president, Dr. C.D.G.N. Chiwenga. All this showing the facade of unity, the facade of unity. You can see a united party. I highlight this in contrast, of course, to the internecine fights which never seem to abate in the other opposition party as it goes from faction fight to faction fight, and as it loses one election after another in their fractious fight for supremacy in the Triple C of Chamisa. We want to, from the onset, say the musings by Chamisa to say we may withdraw the party, we are unfazed. His party from parliament, we are unfazed. He is a sour grape loser. His MPs win. He loses. He is not gracious to them so that they can discharge their responsibility to the electorate. He is not gracious them to give them an opportunity simply because he himself has not attained the apex of power. For years, their party has enjoyed the governance of cities and towns for 2 decades, which was ample opportunity for the Triple C, ex-MDC, to show that they are part of governments and they would have made the urban areas centers of excellence, which have demonstrated to the electorate and which would have infatuated their supporters, their outside supporters, to say they are a party worth of governance. But everybody sees the decay which the towns have befallen into. Whilst the president was having on leave, he was also busy in the background directing his ministers in an operation Cheneso Harare. And you are seeing graphic pictures of the amount of garbage which has been collected over the decades. which now requires yellow equipment to move tons and tons of garbage, which was afflicting our neighborhoods, our suburbs, our wards, as if there was no town father, city father, as if there was no town council. They let the cities rot. But look, the president says whether you are CCC or not, you are a Zimbabwean citizen, whether you are Zanu PF or not, you are a Zimbabwean citizen. The initiatives which he is carrying out all over the country to change the day-to-day life of the economic of the people of Zimbabwe, he wants them to be enjoyed by every Zimbabwean, regardless of your political affiliation. Because when it comes to the welfare of the Zimbabwean people, the president and Zanu PF says it sees no distinction about party loyalties. That's why you saw Minister Chitando with his Civil Protection Bureau working full-time during the holidays. You see Minister Masuka working full-time to see that Harare has got water, and now they are taking this Cheneso Harare to Cheneso Zimbabwe. They are taking it countrywide today. Minister Masuka, he will be in Nyamapanda, taking the message of cleaning the neighborhoods, the towns, to the people. We need a clean environment. You see what cholera has been doing. Initially it was in rural areas where the people live in sparsely, and we're encouraging people in rural areas not to gather in such a manner that they may spread the disease. But our fear is that it would go into the more congested urban areas. So Minister Mombeshora is busy with the challenge of trying to stem the spread of cholera and the loss of needless lives, simply because the city fathers over 2 decades have neglected their responsibility to the electorate, which has kept faith with that party in the hope that when they get to town house and they start running the city affairs, they will be able to deliver a city or urban governance system befitting the expectations of the electorate. Sadly, time after time, that has not happened. And we are glad as a party that in the recent elections, the bellwether urban ward of Zimbabwe, the original home of the black people when they were being urbanized with the advent of colonial settlerism in the 1920s and 30s, in the 1920s and 30s, which is Bari, formerly National. We are very happy that in the last election, they decided to vote for a Zanu PF MP. It's a trend which we saw being repeated in Mavuku, and there have been other urban centers in Bulawayo. I come from Mashonaland West. We have had by-elections at ward level in Chinhoyi and in Banket, and we see Zanu PF winning back the urban constituents. So the contrast in school ranks, the teacher, compare and contrast. The contrast is now being made by the electorate as to which party serves the long-term, day-to-day interests of the Zimbabwe people, and which party is given to an unbridled quest for power for its own sake, without bothering even to show competence when that power is entrusted to you at local government level. How do you expect to do well at State House for the whole country of Zimbabwe when you can't do well at Town House for the urban population of each and every city or town which has been governed by the CCC, MDC cohorts for 2 decades? So we are happy with the work which is being done by Operation Cheneso. I want to add to say this trend shows that the task of urban renewal is being delivered by Zanu PF. I want to highlight the success of the party in another area where the impact of investments by the president in conjunction with competent business people who are exploiting our resources have begun to show fruits. There is a new vitality about Hwange town. Hwange town had died. The new vitality is coming from the big investments in our coal fields, because all of you know that the most dependable source of power for this country comes from the Hwange coal fields. We have new power stations being built. People are being employed. The bigger surroundings are beginning to see their children go to school. The promise, the empty promises of NGOs, which were false development missionaries to the people of Mati North, they are being discarded aside by the population of Matabele North as it sees the results of the big investments being made, because they are the hotbed of energy for the whole of Zimbabwe. And it's beginning to change the lives of the people in Mati North and Binga. And the recent by-election in that area saw again Zanu PF winning, which is another bellwether indication to the CCC that the urban populace is shifting its allegiance because they expect a better life from the people they elect to office. In short, chitaundi chiri kudzoswa na president. And what is chitaundi? A town is different from a rural place. It is, and the difference is not in houses, because kana kumaruzeva kune dzimba. What makes a town is a gathering of people in common effort, using their hands to produce goods for the domestic market as well as the regional and international market. They want factories. People, young people, they want to leave home at 7 o'clock, go to work, then break at 5. On Friday, young people, women and men and boys, they want to receive a salary, a wage. They enjoy themselves over the weekend and they resume work on Monday. They expect to be paid at the end of the month for their work. This is an urban environment. It is a workers' environment, and workers means factories. Now, 2 decades of CCC governance, never in one day have we seen Chamisa with a businessman opening a factory. Never have we seen a town father at the airport, Harare airport, receiving a business delegation, because every town in the world is identified by what it can produce, the products which it produces for the local, for the regional, and for the global market. You go to London, you know it's a financial center for the whole world. You go to New York, you know it's a financial center. You go to Los Angeles, you know it's Silicon Valley, because they produce technology. You go to Nagoya in Japan, you know it's home of Toyota. Every town, Joburg was known as the town of gold. Every town has got a purpose. The people have to have what they do day to day. 2 decades of CCC rules in town, there is no identity at all about what towns are supposed to do. And Zanu PF is restoring that, and you will be happy if I give you an analogy. The pregnancy of a cow is like that of a human being. It's 9 months. The pregnancy of an elephant is 22 months. My analogy goes this way. For rural areas, they are like cows. Their pregnancy, the gestation period was 9 months, a shorter period. And the changes which the president has been making in rural areas to change rural areas are delivering results. The 9 months has been achieved. Fuputsa is working well. Irrigation is working well. The granaries are full. More than that, the reforms which he has made in the mining sector are seeing big ticket mining go to rural areas, converting them into mining areas. We now have steel plants of global class. at Manizi. We now have lithium plants by world-class companies sprouting all over the plateau, which is Zimbabwe. This is the creation of resources which are then needed in urban areas so that factories can run, so that people can work from 7 to 5 o'clock. Now, the gestation of the town is that of the elephant. It is 22 months. So the town is catching up on what is being produced in rural areas because of the reforms of the president and his economic agenda. So there is a logic, a sequel to what is happening in our economy. Chitaundi chiri kudzoswa na President Mnangagwa ne Zanu PF. We will soon be having vibrant towns which will be enticing not only to our local young men and women who work hard, who are enlightened, who are disciplined, who are educated, who know how to quickly convert capital from an investor into profit. This is the reputation of Zimbabweans all over. We are grinders in South Africa, we are grinders all over. So we need that, and we need that in our towns. What we've done abroad in several countries because of the sanctions is now going to be happening here in Zimbabwe. So the elephant gestation period of 20 months produces a bigger cow than that one of the cow, which is the rural areas. It means the multiplier effect of the economic impact of the president's economic agenda is going to see more prosperity being delivered to the people of Zimbabwe. And we see it in the way our neighbor Mozambique is beginning to invest in the logistical outlets which have traditionally been the mainstay of Mozambican ports, Beira in particular. You saw the president at the turn of the year with his counterpart News riding on a train. Mozambique has renovated the railway, which was closed in 1974-75 because of the war. I know the story because I had just skipped university. I was in Chimoyo, then Villaperi, and the last train to cross the two borders of Mozambique and Sahara and Rhodesia at that time. I gave a letter to one of my neighbors from Bari to go and give my father that I had crossed Mozambique. He shouldn't look for me at university. That was the last train in 75 between Beira and Harare. Now the Mozambicans are at the border, Machipanda. They are impatiently waiting for the Zimbabwe side to come and join the party. You can see the restoration of the Mozambican ports to service the Zimbabwean plateau, the Zimbabwean economy. Why? Because the president has created a new economic hinterland within Zimbabwe, which makes it feasible for Mozambique to start attracting big ticket investments for the logistics, which needs to export the goods being produced in Zimbabwe for the global market at the cheapest possible price. You will be happy. There will be 2 new terminals being built in Beira by a big investor who is in Zimbabwe, Tsingshan, the global steel company. There is a new port 40 kilometers north of Beira being designed. And hopefully this year when the president goes to China, we may get more support from China for the building of a new port in Mozambique, because the viability of the port is justified by the economic activity which Zanu PF and President Mnangagwa are engendering in the hinterland of central Mozambique. No longer will it be necessary for Zimbabweans to go 2,000 kilometers away to Durban. And you can imagine the inflation factor which it causes. I always remind people, a container leaves New York to Durban for $1,000 at most. To get it from Durban to Harare by road and rail, it's another $3,000. Can your economy be competitive with such an onerous logistic cost? No. President Mnangagwa is reversing that. We are going to Beira. It's only 300 kilometers from Mutare. And that again adds a multiplier, a feel-good factor in the economy. of Zimbabwe. You see the economic picture which is emerging from a focused President E.D. Mnangagwa. Sadly, but before I go to sadly, what I'm talking about is registering even in quarters which previously were averse to seeing any progress in Zimbabwe, saying that progress can only come once Chamisa and Triple C and the Western puppets have taken over Zimbabwe. They want neo-colonization of Zimbabwe, but that has not happened. So we have, for the first time, the World Bank accepting that the Zimbabwean economy is performing better than the regional economies. The World Bank, the one which is blocked by Zidera from supporting any infrastructure projects. It's by statute that they cannot support infrastructure projects in Zimbabwe. The World Bank now says Zimbabwe's economy, notwithstanding sanctions, is performing better than any of the regional economies. But it's not only the World Bank. One of the most prestigious newspapers in America is called U.S. News and World Report. I went to school in New York, business school in New York. I know this publication. It is ranked, and it's a respected business-oriented periodical. It has come out to say Zimbabwe's economy is doing very well. It's among the top 67 in the whole world of 200 and something countries. This is a kudo coming from people who were not previously enamored to see Zanu PF in a positive light. It's not only that. The International Finance Corporation, an arm of the World Bank, is talking the same language. But listen to this. An American diplomat who was an ambassador to Zimbabwe, Charles Ray. He was here, a retired and respected war veteran from the Vietnam War, decorated. He served here. He is black, Afro-American. He generally was the most progressive of the American diplomats who have served, ambassadors who have served in Zimbabwe. He is the one who was instrumental in prompting his successor, Bruce Wharton, to remove IDBZ and Agribank on sanctions. He was instrumental. So he has been following the fortunes of the country which he served well. By the way, he could do what he did because he was retiring. He didn't care about his next promotion. So he dared to tweak the American system to the reality that Zimbabwe is a good country. Now he has the smug satisfaction, Charles Ray, to write last week to say Zimbabwe is going to be the industrial hub of Africa. You saw that article. It's coming from none other than an American ambassador who served in this country. What am I saying? I'm saying the story of what President Mnangagwa and Zanu PF is doing to make this country prosperous is receiving validation even from quarters which previously we did not expect. But it is also adding a cheer to those who have wished so well for this country. And I want to say thumbs up to Ambassador Charles Ray for bringing this to the fore. Well, some people want to complain in America to say because we are not there, the Chinese are there, therefore things are not being done properly and this. The point is that if they are not being done properly, come and engage. Show your mettle, show that you can also do better. If the Chinese are doing certain things in such a good way, and you think you can do better, that's a business opportunity for you. We want capital in this country. Capital makes a country develop. Unlike the Triple C, which thinks that seizing of power through willy-nilly makes a country develop. No, 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 it's capital. We want American capital. We want American businessmen. We have enough lithium. America is short of lithium. China is tricked ahead in electric vehicle supply chain because of lithium. We have it in Zimbabwe. We want American expertise, the Teslas of America. We want them in Zimbabwe. And the president has extended his hand. He may not so much, I want to tell you, the president is not so much concerned about money from the World Bank or the IMF. For your own information, I'm a finance expert, BOFIN. I went to school for that. The World Bank and the IMF, on a lucky day, they can raise 9 trillion, between 7 and 9 trillion, as capital for supporting world economic development. On the same day, Wall Street and the stock exchanges all over, in Japan, in Riyadh, in London, in Paris, in Frankfurt, in Tokyo, in Singapore, in Shanghai, Shenzhen, Mumbai, the stock exchanges can raise 90 trillion US dollars. So if you are looking for money, go where the money is. American business people, when they develop their country, they don't go to Washington, the World Bank, to look for money. American people go to Wall Street to look for money. The Apples, the GEs, the Amazons, they go. So the president is focusing on American business people. Yes, if the American government come next February can revisit sanctions and drop them, it lowers the cost of doing money. But notwithstanding the premium against Zimbabwe, raising cheap money, we still are doing well. Why? Because the president is focused on the private sector market of the world, because that's where capital comes from. Have you ever seen any of the CCC people entertaining a world-class financial manager or a fund manager? No, they don't know that. Chamisa doesn't know that language. That perception doesn't exist. Anofambira chimwe chete ambulance. Toda kuenda ku State House. Toda kuenda ku State House. Kana pasina paine chimwe chamuka mu road achienda ku State House, haana basa nacho. Because the ambulance aitakure inogoda aitakure chituna. Inoda munhu ari kurwara chete. That's the pencil-minded mentality, single item mentality of CCC. We are contrasting it with what's happening from our president and his ruling party. What am I getting to? I'm saying that the management of the country is in good hands with President E.D. Mnangagwa and Zanu PF. And this year, he wants to build upon the successes which he has been delivering to make sure that Zimbabweans achieve more prosperity, to make sure that our neighbors who also are validating what the president is doing. President Musa, I told you, the Zambians are here. They are talking now of building a pipeline from Mabuku to Lusaka to supply all the trucks which you see going to Zambia. If you drive along the road to Chinoi, it's almost like a continuous train of trucks. The Zambians are seeing Zimbabwe as their drinking wall for fuel. This is the neighborliness which we have. Botswana is talking along the same language of building. It has gone to the point where the success of Zimbabwe has even elicited jealous from the Americans. For the first time, they are talking of building a railway line from Copper Belt to Lobito. America has never built a railway line in Africa for the past 200 years. It has never built one. Now, finally, it has been jolted by what Zimbabwe and the Chinese are doing in Africa to come to the party. This is a good thing. The more, the merrier. That's what we say. And we really hope that come February, because of the things I talked to you, President Biden revisits the sanctions and somehow slips on 17 February and the executive order of sanctions just disappears. Because that's all that is needed. Then we can be given more breathing space. I want to breathe, like Floyd George said. That's what Zimbabwe wants. Zimbabwe wants to breathe. America, can you give us a chance? Because we are doing very well. I want to go further and say this week, this Saturday, the South African National Congress is celebrating its 124th anniversary. This is a good thing. It is the oldest party probably in the world, or one of the oldest in the world. Definitely the grandfather, grandmother of African parties. You may want to recall that in the 1950s, when we started nationalism in this country, the copycat was the African National Congress. It was called the African National Congress of Rhodesia, with the African National Congress of Malawi, with the African National Congress of Zambia. The influence of the nascent emergence of African nationalism is owed to South Africa, all the way to Kenya, and Tom Mboya, if you may know those names. So we are very happy that our African our ANC brothers are having this jamboree of the party which has done so much, and which later exported its version of African nationalism, which was then transformed by the likes of Neto, Nyerere, and Samora to become radical African nationalism, leading to the national liberation movements, which worked together during the 1960s and 70s and 80s until 1994, when apartheid was overthrown, when to get rid of the continent of settlerism and colonialism. So we say to the ANC colleagues, congratulations, you have done well for Africa. We want you to find ways of maintaining unity in that party, because a strong South Africa is very good for the stability of the region. It checks wayward adventurism because it's a regional power. That's why we are happy when they go into the BRICS to go and look for more opportunities as a bridgehead for Africa. That's the role which South Africa, and it vindicates why you Zimbabweans, you stood four square with South Africa at their darkest hour, when Mozambique was made to buckle with Samora Machel being killed and Ngomati, Mozambique being foisted upon Ngomati in the 1980s. Zimbabwe stood four square with the ANC of South Africa under very daunting conditions, and it was contribution by Zimbabweans to the ANC liberation movement from their own paychecks. So when South Africa goes to the party on Saturday, our president has sent messages, he's in touch with his colleague, a counterpart in South Africa. The bonds are very strong. I actually overheard one of their conversations recently. We have very strong bonds with our friends. So this is a good thing. I will kick off from that praise of the ANC by hailing them for the bold decision of global conscience by the ANC to take the genocidal practices of Israel to the International Court of Justice. Wasn't it a source of pride yesterday to see South African jurists presenting their case in solidarity with the Palestinians at the International Court of Justice? Here is a country of Nelson Mandela. We made it because the world was in solidarity with us, because regardless of color, creed, or sex, or gender, or whatever, or religion, humanity is the same. That's why we enjoyed solidarity for our liberation struggle. The PLO and other liberation movements of the Palestinian people, they are in peril. Right now, the population of Gaza is in peril because of the genocidal tendencies and practices of the Israeli government and of the Israeli army against the whole population. 20,000 people, 25,000, 24,000 almost now have been killed in 3 months. No war has done so much ravage to a civilian population in a very confined area, including collective punishment of a people, denying them water, denying them medicine, denying them care, denying them this. And all because you are justifying that you are trying to judge a terrorist. Look, there's something akin to that. A boyfriend or husband who wants to destroy the fetus because it is being housed by a womb of a woman who may have been you are unhappy with. No no act justifies acceptance or condonation of genocide or genocidal tendencies, no matter what the Israeli government may do. And the most unfortunate thing is that it is even the leadership which has been making some strange statements to justify why they should do that to a population. The statements are there. So we are very happy that South Africa has pricked the conscience of the world and has had the courage, the powerful Israeli lobby in America. South Africa has defied that. It has made Africa feel proud that we are part of humanity. And we say to the Israeli government, those of Jewish extraction in other countries who are demonstrating against their government, including the young people of America from universities, they are right. We need a ceasefire. We need unimpeded access of humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people. And I want to take this occasion to pay my condolences to the ambassador of Palestine. I met his mother recently, last year when she came to Zimbabwe, proud of her son serving in Zimbabwe. And she became the victim of Israeli bombardment in Gaza, and she's late. So my condolences go to him. But once again, I want to say, South Africa, you have done us good. We are proud of you. You have raised the flag of Africa about the common humanity which we all share. And we expect a two-state solution for Israel and Palestine. People used to say blacks and Afrikaners in South Africa, Africans and Afrikaners cannot live together. Apartheid is the demise of apartheid has disproved that South Africa now is a multiracial rainbow nation. Who says Palestinians and Israelis cannot find each other? We want extremism to be checked, particularly state-sponsored or state-directed extremism on the part of the Israelis and the Israeli leadership and the Israeli government. So South Africa, we are very happy about, we feel proud, we feel that we have done Africa good, we have done the black diaspora good, which is also in America supporting demonstrations in universities against America supplying more weapons of indiscriminate slaughter against the Israeli people, against the Palestinian people by the Israeli army. I mentioned earlier on about the American ambassador, Mr. Charles Ray. We are positive winds are wafting from London. I want to tell you, I've had 2 meetings with the current British ambassador who loves and never spares an opportunity to show his appreciation of the people of Zimbabwe and their language, particularly Shona, because he served here before. He has highlighted the fact that we want investment into Zimbabwe, a focus away from the previous politics of supporting willy-nilly the CCC for other nefarious tendencies. We are not given to look into the rear review mirror. Our president is not given to look into the rear review mirror. We focus in the windshield as to where we are going. We welcome this move on the part and the announcement by the British ambassador that British capital is being encouraged to come to Zimbabwe. We also have a very, very active diaspora of Zimbabweans there who have proven that they can deliver in a hard currency environment. I am told that maybe people forget. We almost had an electrical railway line. We had one actually, from Dabuka to Harare in the 1980s. We built 200 kilometers of an electric railway line. Somehow when the decay of the First Republic started creeping in, that railway line was abandoned. We have locomotives, electric in museums, but the whole line was stripped of the copper wire and was turned into copper plates, like those. Copper plates, without anybody bothering as to what was happening. This is some of the decay of the First Republic, which led to Operation Restore Lagos. But a good thing can come out of a bad. I'm told the engineers who built that railway line were taken en masse to London to join British Rail. So for the past 40 years, they've been working for British Rail. They are now retiring. They are now experienced. And they are looking at what the president is doing at home in terms of investments and the requirement for infrastructure, including logistics. We need to join the ports, Beira to Manizi, Beira to Bikita, Beira to Acadia Lithium, Beira to Sabistar Lithium. We need to move coal from thermal stations. We need coking coal to move from Mwange to the steel plants. So there is a big demand for railways on a scale which has never been seen before in this country. You can't support lithium and steel on trucks. It's not possible. Maybe you could do that with copper and cobalt from Zambia, because those are very high value items per ton. I'm told if the hijackers in South Africa who hijack the lowbeds from DRC, one lowbed, if you successfully hijack it, you may end up with $300,000 of that cobalt and copper. That cannot be the same with steel, although of course it will be cheaper than most countries. So we need the restoration of the railways. So the work is cut out for logistics, for the restoration of the railways in Zimbabwe. And what a beauty if these Zimbabweans who have been so many years at British Rail can retire back home and become railway engineers and revive our tracks. That's why the president has got a very strong diaspora outreach, so that we will need these people as the economy pumps up, because that's where we are going. We will need them, and what better source of expertise and skills than to start with your own population, which has been exposed to other jurisdictions in other countries where development was going on faster than Zimbabwe. This is an opportunity, it's a dividend which we may not have expected, but which the economy, which President Mnangagwa is ushering in, may now have to reap. So if they are there in London, I say, Zimbabwean railwaymen, remember your days back home. We are back to the future of railway revival and railway growth in Zimbabwe as we link up with the region. Come back home. Zimbabwe is where you will make your new fortunes as experienced railwaymen. Now, this picture which I'm talking about, you now contrast with an institute called the Brandeis Foundation of Anglo-American. It is the one which sponsors the likes of certain Zambian election observers to come and tarnish Zimbabwe. The Brandeis Foundation is associated with the former company which was a successor of the BSA, which is Anglo-American. They are grumpy about what we are achieving. They continue to publish falsehoods about what we are achieving as a country. There is a whole phalanx of NGOs who are in this country trying to become development experts. They drive 4x4s in this country as development experts. But back in their countries, you can't even afford a bicycle, the same person. But he wants to come and teach Zimbabweans about development through the magus of this world. Never have they brought a cent of capital into Zimbabwe, the NGOs. They are there to cap and captain and criticize. Chinese have done this, Zanu PF has done this, the Zimbabwe government has done this, it has made this law, it is a labor infraction, at this. Why, if you are so competent about what you are talking about, why not bring your own capital? Start your own factory. Show that you can do better than the ones you are criticizing. No, they are only there to criticize about what is going on, because they feel that the president has taken away. They were expecting Zimbabwe for lunch, for free lunch. The president has taken Zimbabwe for breakfast. It's gone. So they are grumpy. Ana magu, ana gift mugana. Every time being quoted in the press, economist, respected economist, desktop economist. You ask him, have you ever been to Sabistar to see what is being done in lithium? This is big. Zimbabwe suddenly jumped to become a major lithium exporter. That's a major, that's a product which has got implications in the transformation of global mobility from fossil fuel to new energy electric batteries, lithium-ion batteries. It's happening. There are 6 companies doing that in Zimbabwe. Bikita, which was owned by America, an American company. It started operating in 1956. It never made any contribution to the national fiscus. Look at what it is now doing. Mugano, have you ever been to Bikita? No, he has not been. He flies every day, the plane which he takes him to South Africa, where he gets a sucker for his article, where he gets paid for his article. It flies over Maniza. You know Maniza is on the, in Chivu, is where the steel plant is. He could just take a window seat and pop out and watch what is happening on 300 hectares of land as we build the biggest steel plant in Africa. He doesn't do that. Yet he pens article day in and day out about the malaise of the Zimbabwean economy. Come on, man. You know, economists before, they interpreted the economy, explained the economy. Economists after the Zimbabwe revolution, after Operation Restore Legacy, changed the economy. They are change agents, telling the government how to change the economy so that it moves from A to B. Those are true economists, not economists who are just there to write in their desktops, criticizing without doing anything. Who is better at convincing a fund manager in Europe than a good economist? He has never done that, Uganda. All he does is criticize the government. We are tired of people like that. We want to pan their country and continue to paint it in bad light, regardless of the positives which everybody else is beginning to notice about this country. So ngavamboita basa sebasa kana vachida kunzi madzima economists. Otherwise, I will call them political commissars of neocolonialism. They are no longer economists. Zvanonzi izvo Zanu PF kune political commissar edu ndeye politics avo ndeye kunyeba about the economy. They should go next time when the president is going to cut a ribbon at a steel plant or at a lithium plant or at a factory left whited in Chegutu there. He should be there. When the president is giving incentives to grow blueberry production from Norway to number 4, top 12 in the global market, he should go and interview those farmers in Iri River near Chinoi who are producing blueberries, which you now find in Hong Kong, which you are now finding in supermarkets in London, you are finding in supermarkets in Dubai. He has never taken a picture of those things being delivered, or the gold which is being produced by young people, which makes all the $100 notes in Zimbabwe be new. You realize only $10 notes are old, $100 notes are new. They are not a charity from the American government, the Zimbabwe government. The American Federal Reserve Bank, I told you I'm a finance man. I EP my US dollars for free. I'm going to $100 notes. Could Zimbabwe no occupy? Most of them are under sanctions. Where do we get them? We are getting them on the global market. Could Dubai, could take us for gold and other markets. Don't want to go on my US dollar. Matra. They would go to the America. Those are the US dollars earned by young people. When I'm happy that we rescued our young people at Red Wing Mine, those are the people who are making this economy tick. And those are a product of the reforms of President Mnangagwa, first in the First Republic, but more in vigor in the Second Republic. That's why the Zimbabwe dollar is strong. It's earned money, not gift. And I wonder, you know, there is of course, I do quarrel about the discrepancy between the low parallel rate and the government rate. But what you must not forget is that the US dollars which are being used as a measure, they are earned by Zimbabweans. I ask my gifts, the fact that it's denominated in American dollars does not change that it has been earned by Zimbabweans at work in the mines and in the tobacco fields. Hatisi kupiwa ma-US dollars amuri kuona mueconomy. Tiri kuasenzera. Pam, kudos to hard-working Zimbabweans for earning the US dollars, which is making and stabilizing our economy. They are not a gift from America. So you may be made to believe that the main thing to worry about is the discrepancy. But maybe it's a valid reason, but more important is to take pride in saying the US dollars which are being measured with, they are being earned by Zimbabweans. They are not a gift from Uncle Sam. They are earned by hard-working Zimbabweans. My economists are and that out their political commissars of neocolonialism. They can't fathom that. Yet they want to teach our children per university kuti vagove vanhu vari vanosapota nyika yavo. You see, they are misdirected. They are doing a disservice to the profession of economics. I say that with a heavy heart, with angst, because I appreciate the hard work of the Zimbabwean people to maintain the economy and make it grow in the face of the hostility of the foremost powers of the world in terms of financial power, and in the face of even more onerous sanctions. We still are braving through. So come 2024, Zanu PF will continue to carry the banner of national development towards prosperity. Our president will grind even harder, as we have seen him do, because he has the pleasure of seeing success beginning to deliver. They say nothing succeeds like success. So his juices are being energized because the success is there. To the CCC, we say to them, please stop expelling each other. Try to find each other, so that even if you say Zanu PF, the strength of your capacity as a party is to be able to withstand any pressures from anywhere, because it's a game of contestation for power. I don't know why Zanu PF is expected to be gratuitous to the CCC when we are contesting for power. We are not we are contesting for the same thing, but we are not happy by continuously being made to go to elections because people are fighting against each other and they cannot find each other. They cannot find each other. Have you ever seen Welshmen together with the Monzora, together with the Wende, together with the Chamisa, trying to come together and try to cross their ranks? No, they don't. All they say, Zanu PF yatitira zvakati. Muri zvirema here? Imboita yao kuti muri pakati penyu mumbowanana musaite zvirema vanokuramba vanoti hanzi kunzarwa nevamwe. Sorry for using the I have nothing against the handicapped. I'm just saying that they cannot exhibit and advertise their incapacity to come together by blaming it on Zanu PF. It is actually a measure. We are telling you of the successes, with notwithstanding the pressure from America and the West. You can see that pressure makes us strong. We find ways to find a way around trials and tribulations. So we have no reason to be gratuitously charitable to the CCC, but we also expect a decent and respectable opposition. And if he does the mistake of calling back those parliamentarians, there will again be more divisions. Because somebody has won, he feels he won fair, he used his money, he feels he has an obligation to the electorate which has elected him. Now we are telling him that in Chamisa are more important than the electorate which sent you to Mount Hamden. You think he will be happy? And in the meantime, he's driving a car in each quality. Changa atora achita wano ndapiwa mangi. Womuti garu zezu. Anyway, moti mungabatana muchiitirana utsinye wakadaro pakati penyu. No, it will only lead for his party into further disunity and further incapacitation. Ngaatiudze kana achida usiku tomuudza kuti pati dzinovakwa sei, because for the past 60 years that's what Zanu PF has done. Ndakatenderera ndiri comrade kubva kunyanga toko kunosvika kuNorton, ndakabata pfuti ndichienda kuadresa mapungu ndichidzidzisa vanhu kuti vasapote musangano. The war veterans built the party that way in the 90s. So zvekuvaka party, it's in our DNA. We have the institutional memory and this institutional capacity to do that. We are Zimbabweans. We want a good country. Learn from your neighbor before you learn from America. I may give you better lessons than the ones you come from America, because of the ones you have from America have not helped you for the past 22 years. We should have went to the State House. So maybe, the insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Ngavachimbochinja maitiro zvavaitaura kudaro vombouya tivadzise kuti party dzinovakwa sei. We are happy, we are Zimbabweans together, we are gracious to each other. After all, on a day to day, hapana anoziva kuti we-Triple C newe-MDC newe-Zanu PF, hapana ane badge, hapana. So we can come together and build our country. I just want to end on something concerning my ministry, but also concerning my organization. I'm the chairman of the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association. We will be going for a congress as soon as our patron, the president, is back. The Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans is an affiliate of the party. When we go to the elections, we go in concert and consultation with the ruling party. We make no bonds about that, because, like I told you, during the days when the party was banned, when the party built up an army, the expression of Zanu PF was Zipra and Zanda. We were the ones who made that party survive when it was banned and when it had gone into exile. So we make no qualm, we have no qualms about our allegiances. We see an effort by the John Kamletlis kuda kuba chinhu chevamwe kwafomiwa this association yapiwa zita Zimbabwe havadi kufoma yavo itsva. The next thing vanoenda, the other time some people impositing a Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association, they went to town house Triple C kuti toda kusenza nemi. Fortunately or unfortunately for them, depending on which side you are, the mayor then said, I'm a government institution, tinosenza na minister of war veterans. Next time pamunouya kuno mouya na minister of war veterans. So it came to naught. I don't expect them to go back again to the new town house, because I'm sure even the new mayor will treat them. But kune vamwe vakaita sana Coltat, who were our adversaries during the war, who never stops from reading the script of the Rhodesian army, of the racist Rhodesian army of Ian Smith. He was comporting himself and parading himself with those war veterans the other day in Bulawayo. We want to say once again, we have a patron who is our president. We are an affiliate of Zanu PF. Zanu PF is in our DNA as the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association. We are very confident that under President Mnangagwa, who has restored the Ministry of War Veterans, we are going to do well. For your own information, most of the major economic projects which have transformed this country, the inspiration and the promoters were war veterans. Education was war veterans. It's universal education. The gold industry revived from 2016. It's a product of war veterans who said, it's not illegal. 22 tons, more than 2 billion, twice bigger than the tobacco industry. The tobacco industry, I was ambassador in China. I'm a war veteran. I was very instrumental with the support of the late President Mzenda, Kutima China, how he was to revive our tobacco sector after the land reform. So from an inspiration, a visionary point of view, the war veterans are capable. Sometimes it is not acknowledged. Copyright of what the war veterans have done to make this country have major achievements in the economic field is not accorded. That's why anagift Mugano, they are there, never to study this reality. Yekuti zvakamboitika sei kuti tive netobacco industry yaamandiri 1 billion. He has never written about that. He has never written to say why have we in 4 years, in 6 years from 2016, jumped from 5 tons of gold by SMEs to 30 tons by gold by SMEs. He has never wanted to research that. And that they are now contributing 66%. Yet you want to purport to be an economist. The major drivers of the stability of the currency of this country are tobacco and gold, and now lithium. No study by people who are claiming to be economists. Please, enough of charlatans. Today, I think the permanent secretaries are in Manise, all the permanent secretaries, because the value chain which it is bringing is unimaginable. They had meetings recently with the president, the chair, the investors of that project. They are looking at building another blast furnace, jumping from 600,000 tons to 1.2 million tons. They are already putting another slab for a 3rd blast furnace. And the excitement which is across the Limpopo by the chrome miners of South Africa, by the car companies of South Africa. You know, South Africa has got a big auto parts industry. The manufacturers auto, and a Toyota, and a BMW. You know, South Africa has, they are now saying we are going to be sourcing our steel cheaper from Zimbabwe because our steel will be cheaper than that one from China. This is the excitement which President Mnangagwa is causing in the biggest financial center and industrial center of Africa, Santon and the South African rand. Their banks are now looking at putting some of those huge funds in South Africa into Zimbabwean infrastructure, transmission, railways. This is coming from South Africa. My banks because they were listening to the advisors and a gift to Mugano. They didn't see the opportunity. Now, what was happening in their backyard is now being foraged by those from across the Limpopo. And very soon, it means we interface with the global capital, because that's what Santon does for Africa. It interfaces with the global capital. It means more capital coming to Zimbabwe. And I'm going to say, Zanu PF, Zanu PF, they can't see the reality of what's happening in the economy, which is exciting our industrialists, our miners, our neighbors miners in South Africa. We have Mozambican logistics experts being excited by Zimbabwe. We have fund managers in South Africa and industrialists in South Africa and miners in South Africa being excited at the prospect of supplying Africa's largest steel blast furnaces in Manise. Even now, I was in Rustenburg 4 days ago, seeing some of them. So I'm not talking about second-hand knowledge. So, President Mnangagwa. Boss, this is the end work of, I get my hands dirty to make these things be realizable in the name of our party and our president. It's not second-hand information I'm giving you. This is first-hand. So musaterere vamwana vanokutaura zvinyora zvemanga-manga vandataura vaya. My political commissars, not economists, they are charlatans.
Talking about human rights, the Cato Institute and the Fraser Institute, these are Cato is based in Washington and Fraser Institute based in Canada. They released a report this week whereby they are saying Zimbabwe is the worst in terms of protection of human rights. It was ranked 153 out of
human rights.
Yes, protection of human rights out of 165.
Now,
worst performance. What's your?
This is tendentious. These are people who are grumpy about what is achieving. You are watching televisions every day. You are seeing what is going on in the Gaza Strip. Mauya pana pamuchinzvenga mabombi. Mauya pana pamuchinzvenga ndege dzichikubomba ini. Mauya pana pamuchinzi mvura manyimwa negovernment yeZimbabwe. Vari kufamba mutaundi muesa vari kunzvenga vari kutiza masoja. They chitarisa kuti Israel paranking papo inenge iri papi patiri kunzarwa isusu. So you can see the obvious bias. There is a political intent Like my economist and Dr. It's a whole school which is just grumpy and jealousy, and they are confounded by the prospect of Zimbabwe crossing the line without the usual dictum that to survive and prosper, America must give you air to breathe. If America doesn't give you your lungs air to breathe, you suffer. These are the people vanonyora and Carter Institute, particularly that Carter Institute. I know one of their professors, Hanke. He's from the University of New Hopkins, I think. Yes, he is. He's one measuring the inflation index. Zimbabwe has what? You had me question, where are the US dollars in Zimbabwe coming from? They are not coming from the American government. 80% of the transactions in this country, they are now in US dollars. They are earned US dollars. They are not gifts from the Sagakato, the whole professor Hanke from America can't read that. He goes to the Cato Institute and says human rights. And why do you want to measure a country by one index chet? Yaunodaiwo. Noko kuona noko kumeasure nenzeve yako andikatarisa kuti une makomba akati unechi kuda kuwanda chaundo chandabata nacho 1 chandingofunga kuti ndo chandinofanira ndakabata. There's a whole economy here, a whole society. There are many other indices which are showing progress, like the other institutions which I talked about. Your human rights and a hackneyed index of human rights which stigmatizes a country because vanhu vatema vari imomo vakahondo vakarova varungu vavaisapota ndobva vahwina vanhu vatema, saka vakugona kuvaka nyika yavo. Vaifunga kuti ticharasa chirongo taaparuvanze, taramba kurasa chirongo taaparuvanze, tasvika nacho mumba kuhova taisa chirongo cheikonomi yedu. Kungosotwa nekungosotwa. That a statement of grumpy people who are jaded by the prospect that Zimbabwe is notching up indices across the whole domain. That's why our neighbors are so happy. That's why that's why even their former ambassador, maybe the Cato Institute should invite Ambassador Charles Ray. Why is Zimbabwe going to become an industrial hub? Which my human rights. Do I muda kumeasure Zimbabwe about? My human rights my human rights are to chairman of machines de cholera. Inokonzerwa nemataundi mune maadministration eCCC avanosapota asingazivi kuti garbage inocleanwa, asingazivi kuti mataundi anoda mafactory kuti awane mari and vitality to be vibrant and clean. You can't raise, havana mari because havasi kudevelopa mafactory, havasi kuita rich. They should be measuring kuti CCC yambodaidza businessmen here, the Cato Institute. Why always want to measure the government of Zimbabwe? Yavo party E. Yamboite chi mumataundi yaanoda iye yana Cato Institute nekuningi. So we are unfazed by those fallacious indices from charlatans and enemies of Africa's progress. That's what the Cato Institute, it's a right-wing organization. I'm a student of American politics. I know about it. It's a right-wing, anti-black, anti-African, anti-third world organization. That's what it is. And the people are there. They are simply miffed by the fact that America is losing the stranglehold which it used across global economies. And BRICS are coming up. We now heard how many countries have applied to become BRICS members. 40, according to the foreign minister of Russia yesterday. Congratulations to UAE, Ethiopia, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. They've joined the BRICS countries last week. You saw the announcement. And 40 others are in tow. This is the nascent emergence of a new world, more equitable. These Cato institutes don't want those things. So we are using the advantage of a more level playing global capital field to diversify our sources of investment. We are now a major supplier to the car industry when China now almost 30% 33% of their vehicles are electric, they need lithium. The American Defense Department, I follow American politics. Yesterday, yet around Tasara lithium in my Chinese. Tinayo, Zimbabwe. Imbori swallow pride, stop regime change. Come and engage President Mnangagwa. Tikupe all lithium. We take catch up with China. We are very happy to do that with America. Because for us, the more the merrier. So, I answer you, don't be misled by charlatan indices from people with an axe to grind because they are anti-African, anti-third world, anti-black. That's the cattle and those human rights institutes. Same another one called Freedom House. I used to meet them when I was a diplomat in New York. But we have solved the issue. Are you aware that last week we started paying some of the white farmers for improvements? They are old. They were going to die. Vachirwira land. Also nobody report kuna mwari kuti ndakafa ndichirwira land iwoyo. Vachiramba kuti vaite come to an agreement with the government. They finally saw reality in the budget, an offer was made. They were paid for improvements and they are our citizens. Their welfare is better. We also expect the same thing with the war veterans who were their adversaries of the Rhodesian Army. So we are making progress in accommodating our citizens. Some of the biggest returnees to this country are white. And traditional post-colonial suburbs violence. One house which was inherited by the family is being destroyed. There are 8 semi-detached houses being built. 2 for the family, 6 for rent. Who is renting? Who is driving the boom? And a shop. There's a whole movement of white former citizens of this country back to the country, joining the other diaspora after 2000. This is an earlier one from 70s and another one from 80s when they didn't want majority to move. We are happy they are coming back home. We need their skills. We need their knowledge of the country of their birth. All these things avadi kuzvitaura ana Cato Institute. Vanokutsvaga chimwe chete chete chavanoti namuwana hanzi it's like waenda kumuchato, we are a photographer. Instead of taking people who are wedding, bride and bridegroom, wakunotsvaga chidhakwa changoiwa pamuchato ipapo. Obvunzwa nevanhu kuti kumapicture ako emuchato, wotina kutora mapicture echidhakwa kumuchato. Waenda kumuchato here? Hauna kuenda kumuchato because wasiya bride na bridegroom. The story which I am telling you now about the success of Zanu PF is the bride and bridegroom of the wedding part, not these things which are being talked about. Ndezvema zvidhakwa zvawanikwa zvangoiwawo zvisina boots pamuchato, wakutora picture iyo wakuisa front page ngandiri kumuchato waningi wanga usiko because hauna kutora zvinhu zvine basa. I thank you. I hope I answered you. President barons, people are in jail, and I warn those who are continuing with that practice that they should desist. I was with the president a few days ago. I paid the courtesy call on him, and he is very clear. In fact, I should have highlighted that, and I am now taking a chance with your president, that varkuita zvemaland barons, the time is up. The issue which you have raised about Cheneso, I am recommending on Monday the ministers who are running the program, vakanzina president senze pa holiday ana minister Chitando vauye ku press conference vazokuudzai basa ravari kuita and how they have graduated it from Harare to Cheneso countrywide. We are very happy with the deliveries they are showing. It shows that once a party which has got the interests of the people at heart, once it applies its energies to a challenge, something will be delivered. And we are happy that the garbage now has a new destination in Pomona, state-of-the-art power plant, which can process that garbage. But a lot is being done in the water area and Minister Masuka. So I'm hoping that my director next Monday, probably the same time, you can come, because this is a matter of day-to-day life and death for our urban population, but also other population. What measures are being done just to make sure that we safeguard the welfare of the Zimbabwe people. Another life of lost to cholera for Zimbabweans is one too many for Zanu PF. So, varikuita kune vakasungwa vakakumanika refu. You are aware of that? Yes. Vakasungwa. President vanga vaita sei? Vabvako. Vaona information, yes. Varikudhira now. And I don't know, our hope is that there is no third hand in that kind of wayward behavior in land balance. Because there are always these people who feel that land veterans. It's complicated. Veterans vanhu vese vakafara, saka inini ndichaita deliver my own revolution in Zimbabwe by doing the land issue. It's very possible that there may be nefarious tendencies or creeping into the whole thing, that the motive is no longer strictly greedy and criminality. So Zanu PF is a very vigilant party. Inozvibata. So ndiri kuti stand beyond about wayward land baron behavior.
In the next few weeks, Zanu PF is also contesting in the by-elections, in parliamentary and council elections. And Zanu PF is also left a few seats to reach 2/3 majority. Are you certain you will have the 2/3 majority?
No. Zanu PF, in concert with CCC, then MDC, wrote the Zimbabwe Constitution. We took it to the electorate of Zimbabwe in a referendum, passed it. There is absolutely no appetite of willy-nilly changing the Zimbabwe Constitution after all the effort which we put into it. So Nyaye 2/3 majority is not an ambition for Zanu PF. Look, if the other party continues to commit harakiri, I don't know, in Japanese it's called harakiri, self-disembowelment, then they are foisting us to elections. Then if we end up with 2/3, it's fortuitous. It was never our intent, because the causation is coming from the other side. It's not coming from our side. Ndavataurira kuti vakambobatana vasatandanisane tisaende kuma-elections, we would have been at standstill about 23 August by now. Tatokanganwa kuti takamboita ma-elections, we would have long forgotten. But because of the nature of the opposition, we are constantly being made to go to elections, and it's costly, it misdirects resources, it distracts attention from nation building. And by the way, to rule the country, the Constitution says you need a simple majority, unless you have extraordinary reasons to get 2/3. Saka for our running of day-to-day affairs of Zimbabwe, hatisi kumboida 2/3 yamuri kutaura. Takakwana ne 51%, more than 50% yatakaona here. We are happy with that. So no. We don't ascribe causation from the opposition, which then occasions elections which we had not planned for as of 23 August. Then you ascribe a motive, a malignant motive, a malicious motive to us. No. Zvirikuitika uku kwatiri, the outcome is fortuitous. It's never wished, it's definitely never desired, and it's definitely never willed by us. We are just being made to respond to the constitutional dictates of the land, because certain provisions say if there is a recall, you go for election. Please, CCC, close ranks, stop, love each other, and stabilize the electoral landscape, the electoral map, and spare us elections. We don't need 2/3 at all. We have no ambition for it. But if it comes because they are default of the other side, it's definitely not that we never willed it.